Here we go. First match underway. Avxry and High Distortion, Nick A30 and One Shot Girl. High Distortion, first time playing, so I'm kind of curious to see how he's going to perform. Where are we dropping, boys?
Pleasant Park for High Distortion and crew. I love to see that. Aggressive first drop. HD for the very first time, and I was so excited when I saw these names on screen as our first match that we're going to spectate, because in my opinion, this is going to be the most entertaining first round.
I think, too, right, when we talk about, placements, it looks like for the most part, One Shot Girl, Nick A30, going to be preferring shifty shafts. Pretty typical strategy when it comes down to things, but like I said, based off of overall landing zones off the break, Avxry and HD looking for that aggressive beginning off the start. One Shot Girl, Nick A30, more of a passive beginning for those two.
Yeah, it's interesting. Pleasant is not typically an area we see them go, or at least whenever, in terms of all teams, we don't see them go Pleasant Park a lot. But Shifty Shafts has been a pretty popular area. Of course, we saw, actually, that's one of Avxry's spots whenever he was playing with Noah J in the past. But that's one of his spots that he typically likes to go to. And the reason being is because you can rotate tilted, but pretty popular as of recently, as a lot of players like to go over to Greasy because if you know the Battle Pass, that's one of the areas to go to. So you'll find a large accumulation of players over there, and you can pick up some easy kills. Yeah,
that's a great point. I love the Pleasant drop is actually interesting because it was right at the beginning of the Battle Bus. So you know you're going to get high kills. Off the bat, 4 kills to 0, whereas Shifty, farther down the path, less opportunity for people to drop there. And as you can see, not one person dropped Shifty Shafts. So it's going to be an early deficit right now for One Shot Girl, Nick A30. I think we got the better jump for HD and Avxry.
And one thing that I want to point out as well, when we come into these tournaments, weekly challenges are obviously a major portion to be looking at. For this week, it's eliminations in Pleasant Park. So we could be seeing a few teams when it comes down to strategies preferring Pleasant Park more than normal.
More than Tilted even, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because of the normalcy, the fact of how many players are going to be here, you have a lot of opportunities to get loot. There's tons of buildings, right? Hopefully you get your opportunity to at least visit one. So, yeah, I think this is a great first start when it comes down to Avxry and HD. Have the opportunity to go to a pretty populated place. And like we said, they're thriving off the start. High Distortion, first tournament, he's already got 5 kills in the first, minute and a half?
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. I mean, 5 kills. I mean, he's doing absolutely well. I mean, High Distortion and Avxry seems like a great pair because Avxry at one point was one of the most consistent players in our Friday Fortnite tournaments, right? So for him to be playing with High Distortion, it's even more deadly of a combo. So, but Avxry's kind of been switching partners left and right, but I think High Distortion at this point is probably one of the most, I guess, notable players, at least in terms of skill-wise, I would have to say. So, but One Shot Girl as well, in terms of competitive Fortnite, she's been making a great name for herself, and obviously showing her skill right there, picking up a nice kill just ahead, and that's going to be a knock. And this is the first engagement they've had yet, so obviously showing they can handle their own. Yeah,
that's a quick rotation that comes through to Shifty, a little earlier than you usually see. Typically, the Greasy folks rotate over, but they're going to pick up 3 kills right there, so slowly but surely, I think it's actually going to be One Shot Girl that picks up all 3, slowly but surely inching their way back into this one. But man, look at HD, Mr. Solo Squad himself with 5 kills already and showing why he deserves to be in this tournament.
Yeah, and we talk about like landing locations and whatnot. Shifty, like we said, it was kind of a little bit of a slow start for Nick A30 and One Shot Girl for the most part. But this is the thing, right? Pleasant Park, the challenge is the overall amount of availability when it comes down to this. The bus off the start definitely caters this particular landing zone. So you want to talk about the amount of engagements that are possible off the start. It's going to be a little bit worrisome, but High Distortion having that high ground advantage, preferring what is most important in this game. Of course, we talk about the building, but it's along with those little attachments that make your gameplay even more far superior. As it looks like yet again, Frag starting to stack up 8 kills for HD, man. Wow. That's an insane start for one player alone.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you're talking about 9 kills on the left, and then, of course, you have 4 on the right. We're talking about a 5-kill lead already.
Right.
The engagements are going down pretty fast, but we still see 41 total kills remaining. But you talk about those rotations, landing spots being so crucial. Rotation from here, I mean, where's it most likely going to be? I'm expecting they got to go through Loot Lake. That's typically where you would go, right?
I mean, the option for Pleasant Park, right, you can, depending on the landing zone, which I don't think we can see as of yet, it looks like it's actually going to be just toward the eastern side right now of HD and Avxry. You can make a tilted drop. I mean, you have a few options. Loot Lake, I mean, I know for a lot of people it's an option, but it's not the most preferred. But I think being in Pleasant, you have a good opportunity to kind of go to tilted, but also with Shifty Shafts, it's immediately on the outskirts. Both teams, I think, have the ability to go tilted if necessary.
Yeah, and I like the Pleasant Park drop. It's interesting that you made a comment earlier that people don't drop there that often in Friday Fortnite because the rotation at tilted, you can actually split as well. Send one tilted, send one over to clean up the folks at Anarchy Acres that are rotating towards Loot Lake. I think it's a great drop. I like this decision right now from Avxry and HD, especially given the Battle Pass challenges.
Yeah, definitely so. It's going to slow down just a little bit as it looks like they might head just to the side of Loot Lake. Of course, that's a very volatile area. But, you know, I'm not a fan of Loot Lake, but I have grown to know that at least how you navigate Loot Lake is so incredibly important because there's so many different ways that you can get taken out there. But you can also pick up some crucial kills from that point as well because it's a huge transfer point, much like Dusty Divot is.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's a guarantee is 3 people dancing in the dance
that is a fact.
disco waiting for a 4th person.
I still don't have that challenge yet. I need people to play with.
Let's do it, man.
3 guaranteed kills right there by people just waiting for a 4th every single time.
Nice knockdown there from Nick. Of course, pulls out the bolt, makes it look easy. We were talking about Fallout heading into this tournament, how talented Nick A30 is at this game. I've recently been watching a lot of his streams on YouTube, and that's exactly why, right? Plays with the sniper. He's feeling good. He's feeling confident, as they're going to have to try to get those frags back on board. We talked about the initial start for Avxry and HD. Plenty of frags, plenty of elimination opportunities for those guys in Pleasant Park.
Yep.
But now it's going to be the big opportunity here as the zone will, kind of be on their heels a little bit, trying to pick off these last few frags inside of Greasy Grove. Exactly what they needed, and Nick A30 is the guy to always answer the call for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this game is all about pacing, at least the play style that we have based upon kills, and they're pacing very, very well. We saw that, of course, there was a different pacing in terms of how they both started. We saw 9 kills come out for High Distortion and Avxry, and then, you know, maybe 1 squad kill for One Shot Girl Nick A30, but they're starting to heat up even more as they're sitting at 8 now, as opposed to the 9 on the left. But like I said, that comes from Pleasant Park. You may get a lot of kills from there, but your rotation after that is going to be a little bit difficult to try. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to try and find some players, but that's the most thing. And that's the thing that differs between a lot of these teams we see. And like I said, the Fortnite, at least in terms of competitive-wise, has been developing. The overall strategies has been developing literally week after week, and we're seeing the case just now.
Yep, talk about meta changes. Of course, big discussion on Twitter the past few days based on the recent memo that came out from Epic Games and some of the building changes that might be coming. But I love about Fortnite, obviously, constant updates and meta changing so consistently. And now, you're right, 1-point game. That's crazy. So a better rotation comes through for Nick A30 and One Shot Girl. And now it's only a 1-point game. We got ourselves a nice game 1 in our hands.
Absolutely so, and it looks like the circle is in fact going to be collapsing now. Fall, this is something that we've talked about at least in our tournaments, and I want to know your opinion. We like to see the play. Oh, what are you seeing? Oh no, he glitched out, Avxry.
Yeah. Oh
no!
Didn't mean to cut you off.
So no, it looks like that might be a computer crash. But I
look at his face.
So
based on his face alone.
So we actually have a ref sitting inside of the engineer room in-house, so we'll be able to find out what's going to happen there. But if I had to guess, they're probably going to play it out because the game is well underway. He's sitting at 1 kill. High Distortion already has 8. It's a very close game at this point.
Thankfully, it's not HD who's kind of eliminated at this point because of.
And I gotta say, maybe it was foreshadowing, but I said HD, the solo squads himself, and now he has to literally.
Oh no, Caster Kerr strikes
apparently,
again.
I'm sorry, HD. I apologize, Jimmy. Gosh, we'll see what he can do though, man. All eyes on him, and if anyone can do it, it's HD. As Nick's gonna take out 1, so it looks like he'll be tying it up here.
Yeah, absolutely, as we'll see.
Is he? Oh, I thought he was back for a second. I was looking at the
High
Distortion screens. How did they get 8 kills? Unfortunately not.
Sponsors are up there now. Avxry will be back, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't know.
Got replaced with some great sponsors.
But still, though, it comes to, that rotation was a little bit tough. But this, so going back to my original point, Fallout. Now, when it comes to the circle itself, are you a fan of diving straight into the circle, or are you a fan of kind of hanging onto the outer edges? Because I believe hanging on the outer edge is a little bit smarter because you'll catch those players that are kind of coming in frantically trying to get out of the storm, but you'll also catch those maybe even noobs like who are like on the outer edge, like
trying to win.
They didn't pace it right.
Exactly.
They're coming and you pick up some kills. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually played my first UMG tournament yesterday, and playing in UMG tournaments, I think the smarter idea is to stay on the outskirts because watching the Pro-Am, watching any spectator matches of Fortnite, you see the majority of players are on the outskirts. Contrary to popular belief, you think that's the more safe place to be. It's actually not. So I'm right with you there. I think outskirts is the way to go. If you're trying to win, you're trying to get sweaty, I think the ninja strategy of post up in a 1x1 in the very center of the circle is the way to go. So the solo showdowns, the blitz showdowns, that's the best strategy. But in these high kill games, I think outskirts is definitely the right play.
Definitely agree.
Speaking of Ninja, I was actually who's One Shot Girl is actually currently down, as we can see now. She's down and out. So now
at least it's even, right?
At least it's even now. So High Distortion's got to be feeling a little bit better. He lost Avxry. Now One Shot Girl's down. So now it's just a 1 versus 1. But of course, High Distortion's a very talented player and already still mowing players down. He's got 11 kills this game, which is a great turnout. Of course, sitting with the Gold Scar now, which is going to be even better with a total of 18 engagements.
Yeah, and talk about a story. We have written a better story here. Is now it's going to be Nick A30 versus HD, 2 of the best players or better players in the game, going at it head to head. Who can clutch up in the solo squads? Man, what a good first match we dug ourselves into here.
Absolutely. And of course, we talk about combinations, like duo weapons, as far as things are considered. You actually see the heavy shotgun compared with the TAC SMG as well. Like we talked about, right? The heavy shotguns, how influential those are when it comes down to game by game. But take a look at the top left, gentlemen. Nick A30, he's down for the count. He's been eliminated. So there's going to be 17 opportunities for High Distortion in this situation to continue his elimination spree up to this point. Of course, taking a quick replay look at how exactly Nick A30 dropped, finalizes himself with 6 frags in total. A pretty decent start, right, for Nick A30 one-shot girl, but right now, this is a High Distortion show. This is his first tournament. He's trying to show out, and he is absolutely living up to the hype, as there are still players around him based on his building spree at the moment. And I believe there was actually a Chug Jug off the play that he dropped from earlier, so he has some opportunity to get back a little bit of that health. He is in zone, but we'll see if the frags can continue to come at the rate that they have been off the start.
And I think we're sitting at 9 kills for Nick A30 and one-shot girl, and then we're sitting at a total of 13, and more to come. But no, that's his trap. Luckily, I thought it totally wasn't. As we know, the trap's 150 damage, absolutely insane. We were talking about that before, but not too big of a difference, but still more engagements to come down as it gets a nice knock. But look at it. He's got to be careful. He's at 15 health, but luckily he does have those minis in his back pocket. Of course, those minis so quick to give you some at least padding, but he gets dropped down and he gets eliminated. And if you're one-shot girl and you're Nick A30, you got to be extremely happy at this point that he goes down, and it's going to be, what, a 5-point game now going into round 2.
Yeah, 4-point game, actually. Just got the correction there. So, 5-point game. You're correct. Yeah, we
Math
got
is
double,
hard.
got the double correction. Math is difficult. But 5-point game, given HT's performance, that is a good situation for Nick A30 and One Shot Girl. I think they're in a doable spot going into game number 2. Yeah.
But you also got to imagine, right? If Avxry's computer doesn't randomly go out, which we're still waiting to hear a word exactly what the case is with that, but going off of what is official for right now, if Avxry doesn't drop early, right, or technically his computer's the one that dropped, he didn't himself. I mean, maybe High Distortion survives in a lot of those fights. Maybe the killing spree goes on, they go to win the game, they pick up 4 or 5 more frags, which I think is definitely a possibility. We're looking at a much more cemented lead for Nick for the opposite end, of course, of HD and Avxry and whatnot. But you got to give props, right? I think the early start by going to Pleasant Park is great. I'm sure the players are most likely aware of the weekly challenges and whatnot.
Sure.
How much of a high priority area it's going to be this week as well. But like I said, Pleasant Park, normally we don't see it when it comes into Friday Fortnite. I'm excited to see a little bit of it when it comes down to this week. So.
Yeah, Pleasant Park this week. I think last week was Greasy Grove quite a bit. We might still see some of that, as it is still an objective, at least for your Battle Pass, but not too sure. But yeah, that's something I never thought about whenever it comes to Friday Fortnite. I never thought about, at least I think last week is whenever it kind of dawned on me. I was like, oh, the Battle Pass actually makes a huge difference in terms of strategy, at least for what we see for this kind of format.
Well, like a week and a half ago, I've never seen as many people in LL Fortnite go risky reels. I was having a very rough time trying to
get those
find as many chests as possible. It was a task, to say the least, and I still haven't found. I actually haven't completed that challenge.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, man. I had some pros. I'm going to say that right now. I had some pros going to Greasy Grove, hopping on that screen and just not Greasy Grove, risky reels, and just dominating.
Got to play with me, man. I'm going to carry you. I'll carry you to victory, buddy.
Right. I mean, we play.
Even Fallout plays. Well, you play on PC?
I play on Xbox.
Xbox.
Yep. So I play on Xbox. Ribs and I are actually playing in the Chicago Red Bull tournament with Ninja in a couple of weeks here. Really excited for that. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, great time.
You were lucky to get a ticket. We were talking about that. I know they sold out pretty quick. I was actually looking to buy a ticket, and I think maybe a couple days later I went to go buy a ticket. They were totally sold out.
25 minutes.
25 minutes?
25 minutes they sold out. Unbelievable. Ninja announced it on a stream, and the rest is history. Those guys sold out really
You got a lucky
quickly.
break then.
I know.
Well, $2,000, I think, right?
Is $2,500 is first.
$2,500 is first.
So it's just a cool situation. Top floor of the Sears Tower, the Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower. Thank you, as us Chicagoans know. But 99th floor of the Sears Tower. Red Bull's doing an amazing job hosting that event. It's the format's really interesting. So I thought it'd be UMG style, but it's going to be grind as much as possible till 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and get as many kills and wins.
Is it just based on kills?
Both placement and kills.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Over a 7-hour period. So
yeah.
I will definitely need some G Fuel for that night. So that is for sure.
Takes 40% off, 50% off coming in for an hour tonight.
I'm jumping my phone in the middle of that.
All right, here we are. We are back. Avxry's back, ladies and gentlemen. So Avxry and High Distortion. Now, this second game coming in, of course, we know there's a 5-kill difference between the two. They're going to continue on, even though Avxry's computer crashed earlier, so that's how we're going to do it. But 5 kills, not a lot. That's only, a kill or squad kill and then another kill after that. So still doable for the team of One Shot Girl and Nick A30. But where are we landing now? Kind of on the outside of Salty Springs? This is something that we saw in our previous tournaments. I'm actually a fan of this spot. I like this spot a lot, to be honest with you.
There's a few excess buildings when it comes down to the outskirts, of course, of Salty Springs. Broke it down one so you can find a chest or two to kind of get yourself going. like I understand the strategy here for One Shot Girl Nick A30. They're not down by a ton, so it's not too out of the question for them to kind of go on the outskirts of some area and whatnot. But at the same time, I would like to see them kind of challenge a Salty Springs, maybe even the outskirts of a retail row, something a little bit more populated for the most part. But hey, man, that's the thing, right? When it comes into High Distortion's play, at least off of that first map, if you are in the mindset of One Shot Girl Nick A30, kills are going to be happening, and they're going to be happening at a consistent rate. So you have to target that by playing more aggressive than they are, and that's a very difficult task to do. A lot easier said than done, for sure.
Yep, and if you've been watching the bottom left of your screen, it's been action for High Distortion. I'm glad we're jumping on board with him right now because he dropped Big Blue House at Salty Springs. 3 people dropped on the roof with him, and he's still been able to stay alive here. So a good start from HD. He has a double pump right there with the blue and the green pump as they are looking to push basement right now. But a risky drop again from HD and Avxry. Pleasant Park and then Salty Springs.
Well, that's the thing. High Distortion is so incredibly confident in his playstyle, and rightly so. He's such a good player. Please no caster curse. Please get this kill. At one point, I was saying like me and Legion were, or at least me, Legion, and Landon were the best team in the tournaments because we were just eliminating players left and right because of the caster curse. But luckily, it's not the case here. He's going to pick up 2 kills, and not too bad in terms of inventory. He does have the double pump. Opts to get rid of the blue pistol coming in with the blue AR. But he's so incredibly confident. But one thing I wanted to come back on when I was talking about this outer drop. Unfortunately, I do like the drop of One Shot Girl and Nick A30, but not so much when I saw Avxry and High Distortion and Salty because now they're having to come in on that fight already.
Well, one thing that I want to point out, and I think maybe this is a counter coming in from Avxry and High Distortion. I didn't really get to see the overall, like who jumped out of the bus first, but this is also a great counter if you're in Avxry and High Distortion's overall situation, right? The only reason why Nick A30 and One Shot Girl aren't going in off the start is that they don't want to be in that mix. They don't want to die early and risk the chances of one of them at least dropping, and that totally ruins their chance of moving forward. What's awesome here for Avxry and High Distortion, they're picking up all the kills that One Shot Girl and Nick A30 are planning on grabbing later. So this totally ruins any plan whatsoever of One Shot and Nick A30 making a decent comeback, at least off the start, because now they're going to have to hunt elsewhere. They came into this game with a little bit of a deficit, and they're going to continue on with that as they're down 4 kills, at least in game number 2, which is the worst situation for them to be in.
Yeah, Len, that's a great point. Especially, I think an important term is KYP, know your personnel. You're playing against Avxry, you're playing against High Distortion. You know they're aggressive, you know they're high kill. You have to completely adapt in strategy. I know they decided to drop outskirts and play a little more safe, but down 4 kills going into game number 2, I think you have to call an audible, especially when you see HD and Avxry drop in Salty.
Yeah, they're going to be down actually a considerable amount now. I believe a total of 9 kills.
9,
Because they came down into this game 5 kills down. So, and of course, the game, there's still a lot of engagements remaining. Anything can definitely happen. The only thing that's kind of going for One Shot Girl Nick A30 is they do have a little bit of a lead in terms of distance between the two, heading over towards Dusty. Of course, that main transfer point. And of course, we do see a nice elimination coming in to kind of pad their stats a little bit, closing that deficit. But Avxry and High Distortion being so close, though, that's still going to be a big thorn in their side because, Fallout, if you've been watching, still killing is a very viable option, at least at this competitive mindset.
Yep, no, well said. I completely agree. And now they're going to be completely trailing Nick A30. I like the rotation. I like the call from High Distortion and from Avxry just to trail and try and steal some kills here in the second game. If they can just trade kill for kill, that's it. That's a wrap.
Yep.
And I think for the most part, we see One Shot Girl Nick A30 kind of realize what was taking place, Avxry and High Distortion, already picked up the kills. Okay, let's try to get out of here. Let's try to get some breathing room, essentially. So they try to find a little bit of a few frags, right? Some eliminations. Of course, we see Nick walk away with 3 of those. And so they're kind of advancing forward. One thing that I am super excited about, and of course, in our very first match, we're seeing this in a massive highlight. This is not a typical strategy from Avxry in our past tournaments. We talked about him and Noah J. They usually go shifty shafts. They're kind of an outskirts team, not super high up in the the face of the enemy for the most part. Avxry's a fantastic player, but usually whenever an enemy's coming toward him, he's not usually initiating a lot of those fights.
Right.
So this is a total different strategy change. Of course, playing with High Distortion, you kind of have to quickly get used to that. But I'm sure they've probably been practicing getting used to these strats and whatnot. But this is a great opportunity for Avxry to really show off his skills in a multitude of facets. We know he can do it when it comes down to the slower pace, and now we're seeing him at the higher pace as well. Of course, kind of playing second fiddle right now to HD as per usual when it comes down to this particular fight. But it's great to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team kind of continues to dominate as the tournament progresses.
Yeah, HD had, 12 kills in the first game, and now he's sitting at a total of, or actually I think he ended up with 13 towards the end, and now he's sitting at 7 kills this game. You talk about a solid placing, a solid showing in his first tournament, and this is to be expected. If you guys have ever watched his streams, we've watched our streams several times. He's always been a top-level competitive player, and of course, being on the TSM stream team, you have to be good, right? And I wouldn't surprise me if eventually he ends up representing TSM in one of the future competitive tournaments for Fortnite.
Put a
for
jersey
the
on this
Cup.
man's back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
ASAP.
especially with the format, with it being duos and
extra
maybe
large,
solos.
probably,
Yeah.
but you know.
I could see him.
He's a
I could see him
muscular
going pretty far. No, dude is massive, right? I mean, come on. I've heard so many different stories.
Bodybuilder.
About him. Oh
he
yeah,
does it all,
absolutely,
man.
absolutely.
I actually heard from Ryan, funny enough, that there was one time in a Gears of War tournament. He
Okay, so Ryan told that story?
No, yeah.
All right, I was like, I don't know if I should bring it up.
For those who obviously aren't familiar with it, apparently at one tournament, High Distortion ended up getting eliminated. I'm not exactly sure the entire context behind it. All I know is the man got eliminated from a tournament, literally snapped his controller in half with his bare hands.
that is a man I am not talking trash to if I'm at an event.
By no means.
That is for sure. I think
That's
it was MLG
crazy.
Toronto 2008 when that happened.
Was it really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, back in the day.
Jeez.
Distortion. And then we actually, as a joke, we did like team intros. It was kind of like slow motion. These funny. We pretended like we were serious, but we weren't serious. And we loosened the screws in the controller. We had him break the controller. And the team intro was at Hypestation in 2010. So good times for sure. HD definitely a player to look out for in the Fortnite community. I'm so glad he's in this tournament.
Oh,
and I think he's going to go very far.
Oh, he already is at 7 kills now. Let's take a look at the right. We're still sitting at 4 kills for Nick30. One Shot Girl hasn't found anybody just yet. We do see an engagement happening on her screen just ahead, and hopefully she'll be able to pick this up and pad the stats a little bit, but having a little bit of trouble. But luckily she's got the pop rocks to get out of there, and there it is. She's finally going to get the knock as Nick30 is going to come up from behind and try and get the kill. Actually, excuse me, I believe that might be High Distortion picking up the kill as well, as it looks like they're trying to stick together, and that's a really good strategy if you're Avxry and High Distortion. Still as many kills as you can. That's in fact going to be 10 kills now on the left as the engagements are dwindling away. The game is starting to get away from One Shot Girl and Nick30.
And this is what I've been talking about. When it comes to Avxry, right, when his overall strategies and prior teams, he's not used to playing at this fast pace. He's also not used to kill stealing. Like a lot of our tournaments in the past, Noah and Avxry weren't squad or weren't a duo rather to want to follow the opposite team. They kind of played their own game, played kind of like the backseat role, right? You kind of let the enemy do whatever they want. You kind of hang on the other side of the map. In this case, playing with High Distortion is totally changing up what Avxry is absolutely used to playing as, at least in our Friday Fortnite tournament. So I think it's great to see. I know a lot of fans necessarily aren't a huge advocate of wanting to see kill stealing happen. But, right, you're playing for $20,000. I'm willing to do whatever is necessary to make sure that I can at least get through this very difficult Winners Round 1 game. So absolute credit to Avxry and High Distortion. But, man, what a show that HD is putting on, at least off the start. I mean, obviously, we talked about double digits in Game 1. Definitely possibly puts up double digits in Game 2 as well. And honestly, he's got a lot of hype coming into this tournament. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, my gosh, it's High Distortion's first tournament. That obviously puts a little bit of pressure on your shoulders to want to perform. But, boys, he's rising to the occasion and more.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with that. HD currently sitting at 8 kills. Avxry as well has performed really well in past tournaments. I mean, no, I believe have gotten top 4 in at least one.
I think their highest placement, is second place.
Second place in the inaugural tournament.
Yeah, they made the grand finals in one of them. So they've done. Avxry's definitely no slump. He's done it before quite a few times, and now he has High Distortion on his team. I'm excited to see how far they can go.
Yeah, I mean, Avxry's obvious. I mean, for me at least, he's one of my favorite players. As we see a player up ahead on that sky bridge. Of course, no more jetpacks anymore. Hopefully, there's a jump pad up there or something that they'll be able to dip out on. But unfortunately, doesn't pick up a kill. But that's always the scariest thing. Got a sky bridge all the way up there, and you're just about to put the jump pad down, then you get knocked off. It is the worst. But we see some good plays actually with the jump trap, which actually they're falling to the ground and they end up placing it perfectly. Actually, I think Avxry's done that a couple of times in some of his Twitch clips that I've seen out there. But yeah, Avxry's at least one of my top favorite players in these tournaments. He's always a very positive guy. I love talking to him on Twitter as well. So for him to be playing with HD, I think this is probably going to be one of his best placements potentially. It wouldn't surprise me if I see them go into the final round.
Oh yeah,
I think the brackets is pretty favorable too on the lower side of the bracket.
It is.
You're in a very good spot if you were to do a bracket predictions. Or I think a push to round 4 is definitely viable for them.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. And this is a difficult one to get through, but even going back to the bouncer traps and whatnot, I remember a play last week, Taylor. I'm not sure if you remember it exactly, but it was Tupac, Thug Lord, and Rice Gum.
I do.
They were down. It was just actually right outside of Loot Lake, and there was a play where I think it was Tupac had to make a big moment. He was kind of down in some cases, had some shots going for him, places down a bounce trap, kind of backs up essentially, and ends up shotgunning a player whenever he was one shot himself. So there's a lot of different uses when it comes down to that, and I'm a huge advocate of that bounce trap ever since it was added, and it just goes to show it can be a highlight moment, kind of equipment in your back pocket if you're in a sticky situation to try to hop out of the storm. It has a multitude of uses, and I think it's great. You don't take fall damage as well. Has that added incentive to win a rocket.
Who was I think wasn't it Daquan who put that clip where he was stuck inside the room with all of them? There's so much fun things that you can just exploit.
You just put them all around the walls. And, it's,
and he got a player stuck in there too, didn't he?
Yeah. The BCC trolling videos have been plentiful, that's for sure, since the bounce pad was added. And quick little tip too, you can actually go into a bounce pad holding down scope. And as you jump, you stay in scope. It doesn't take you out of scope. So it's a little, I don't know about a glitch or an exploit, but a little pro tip to be able to hit that jump pad, hit a nice snipe, and really be in good cover.
Didn't know that. That's quite. That's really interesting. So what are we seeing on it? We got 8 on the right, and then on the left we had a couple of more kills. I believe I don't think there's enough engagements for them to win this, and if so, we're talking about mirrors of like maybe 1 or 2 more engagements go to the hands of HD and Avxry, and they'll be able to take this game. But a well-fought battle for Nick A30 and One Shot Girl overall. I mean, they kept with them. They died in the first round, but pretty late in the game. This game they've kind of made their way all the way through, just showing, hey, you have the potential, but HD has just been killing overall in this tournament so far individually, and Avxry, of course, being that support player helping, and unfortunately his computer died at the beginning, but One Shot Girl going down, and that's kind of going to cement now Avxry and HD to kind of take over this game. But what a first round between these two players, and of course, One Shot Girl, Nick A30, if you're a fan of them, they'll be moving down in the loser bracket. Of course, they'll possibly make their way through every single tournament. Just about, we've had one team come through loser bracket and take over to victory. You actually had the stats on that. Do you remember how many teams have won from losers?
I want to say 4 out of 6
That's
have
insane.
won from losers. It might have actually changed a little bit from last week. I can't really remember regarding all of them.
Dementos and Mongrel, actually, because they stayed in winners and won.
So, it might be 3 for 6 now. I think at least we'll say 50%. I would say of the time, a team coming from losers usually wins the series, which is pretty crazy to think about. And it also sets up week number 7 to be more exciting for that grand finals as well, at least based off prior. Each team has a 50% chance to walk away with the W. So very interesting, to say the least.
I believe it's still not impossible for them to take the win, but they're literally sitting. They have to get every single kill from this point forward, which actually, I say that Nick A30 is in fact going to be in a fight, but there it is. You see High Distortion on the bottom screen there is going to in fact pick up a kill, and that's going to cement it. So One Shot Girl and Nick A30 will be moving down to loser bracket. Avxry and High Distortion, probably I would say one of the stream favorites at least so far, because like I said, they've been shouting for them to be